Hi and welcome to our tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at drawing 205. Now there's going to be a number of ways we can attempt this drawing. I'm going to show you two different ways of doing it. The first way is just going to be using lines, arcs, circles and grips. The second way will be using a rectangle and some modify tools. So the first thing we need to do is have a look at the overall dimensions we've got. You can see here the centers from one circle to, let's say, this arc over here, the side of the slot, is 90 millimeters. We have 30 millimeters in between. 25 is the diameter of this circle here. We have a radius of 22.5 for the outer arcs. And over here we have a radius of 12.5 for these arcs. Now you'll notice if we double 12.5, that will give us the same diameter as the 25 millimeter circle over here. Also, the other thing we need to look at in terms of the height from top down to the bottom, we have a radius of 22.5. It says TYP, meaning typical. If we double that, that's going to give us the height from top to bottom. So we're looking at 45 millimeters in height. So what we'll do is jump over into CAD. Now, as I was saying before, we're going to start doing this one just using the lines, arcs, circles and grips. So the very first thing I want to do is draw a line. Now I'm going to make sure ortho's on just over here. I'm going to draw a line and I'm going to make it 45 millimeters. So that's going to give me the height from the top to the bottom. It also does some extra things as well, like giving us start and end points and midpoints or center points for doing our arcs. So once we have this line here, what we're actually going to do is click on the arc tool, the pull down, and we're looking for this one here, start, center, end. Now you can use that one, or you can use another sort of flavor of it, center, start, end. It does the same thing, it's just the different order that you actually choose the points. I'm just going to use start, center, end. Now my start point is going to be up the top, the center is just in the middle point there, and the end down the bottom. Now you'll notice as I'm doing this, the arc is traveling counterclockwise. If you click in the opposite direction, you'll see you'll get the arc going around this way. Now you can change that. Just down in the command line here it says hold control to switch directions. So I'll just demonstrate that, and you can see now it's coming around to the right hand side. If I let control go, it goes back around the other way. Anyway, I'm going to go and click on the endpoint just here, and that's that one done. What I'm also going to do now is pop the little circle in here. Now we know that had a diameter of 25, so I'm going to click on circle, center diameter, choosing the midpoint as our center point, and I'm going to type in the diameter of 25. So there we have our circle. Now I'm going to use this vertical line to shift over to this side to give me another point to draw my arcs on. Now we know the center from here across to the other side. Let's go and have a look at the drawing again. So from the center of this circle through to this point over here, we know we have 90 millimeters, and then we also have 33 from the center there back. So what I'm going to do is, using my grips, I'm going to click on the vertical line. I'm going to select the mid grip. And if you have a look down in the command line, over here it says stretch, but we know we can't stretch a midpoint. So what it's actually going to do is move it. With ortho on, I'm just going to move in the direction I want to go and type in the distance of 90. Press enter. I've now got that line over this side. What that's going to allow me to do is use my arc, center, start, end, or start, center, end again. This time I'm going to choose the bottom end point. Go to the midpoint and then to the top end point. I've now produced the arc on the right hand side. From there I'm going to take a line from the top of this circle, so the top quadrant, across to perpendicular. Now the reason I'm doing this, I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom, is it's going to allow me to create two new points, top there and bottom there. Now as we discussed before, the arc that was in here, just looking at our drawing again, has a radius of 12.5, which gives us a distance from the top to the bottom of 25, which was the same as this circle. So back to our drawing, we've now got our 3 points to do arc, start, center, end. Start, center, end. Now I've created that arc on there, I'm going to create another one over here. I can just repeat the process that I did before by clicking on the mid grip here, moving in the direction, and typing the distance of 33, enter. I've now created those 3 points again, so I'm going to go arc, start, center, end. From there, what we can do is use these lines that we've already got, and by selecting the end grips we can stretch them back to the end point of the arc over here, and same with that one. Okay. Press escape to deselect. We can use this one if we like by selecting the grip and just stretching over to the end point, that one over to the end point, and finish by drawing a line from end point to end point. And there we have the first view. I'm going to put some center marks in here just before we move over to the side view. To create the center marks, what we need to do is click on the Annotate tab. We'll then go down to Dimensions and click on the second tool in here, Center Marks. If you want to use the quick key for this, it's DCE for Dim Center. So I select the tool and then I just click on the circle, and you'll see that pops the center mark in here. If you want to scale these up, then I would suggest you scale this one up, then copy it across. I'm going to leave these at the same side just for now. So I'm going to repeat that process and click on this arc and this arc. Okay, so I now have my center marks in there. Over this side, we're going to look at drawing the side view. So this will be the right side view. Looking back at our drawing, we know it's 20 across, and it's obviously going to be the same height as this, which is 45. So to do that, I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to use object snap tracking to make sure that the bottom of the rectangle lines up with the bottom of our front view. To do that, back on the Home tab, I'm going to click on the rectangle tool. Now, making sure object snap tracking is turned on, that's this little button just down here. I'm going to hover over the endpoint, but not click, and then if I drag my mouse across, you can see I get that green dotted line showing up. I'm just going to drag it around to about here. It doesn't really matter how far across you go, but I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to use the dimensions option found in the command line. And for the length of the rectangles, we're typing in 20 and then enter. For the width, we're going to type in the 45. So 45, enter, and just click up over here somewhere. There we have it. We have our side view rectangle. Now all that's left is to put the center marks in and the hidden detail. Now the hidden detail is there just to indicate that we do have cutouts or holes through the object. We just can't see them. Now the easiest way to do this, I'm just going to draw a line from the end point here across to perpendicular. I'm going to repeat that. Now we can repeat the last command simply by pressing enter. If I press the enter key, you'll see down in the command line it says line specify first point. So I'm just going to click on the end point of this line and take that to perpendicular. Press enter, repeat the tool again by pressing enter, and this one I'm going to take it from the midpoint here, or the end of that center mark, across to perpendicular again, or the midpoint. From there we can use the trim tool to trim these lines up. So what I'm going to do is click on trim. Now if you wanted to use it just by doing grips, you can select all the lines and just stretch them back. I'm just going to take a shortcut here by going trim, and where it says select cutting edges, again down in the command line here, the cutting edge is just going to be this rectangle. So I've selected the rectangle, press enter once you're done. Now it's asking for the objects to trim. I want to trim all three of these, so I'm just going to draw a green window over those and click, press enter. So that's now trimmed those lines back to the rectangle. Now center marks we generally want to be bigger than the actual object, so I'm going to select this center mark, or this line currently, choose the middle grip, so click on that and press enter 3 times. Now you'll notice down in the bottom left hand corner of your command line you'll see it says stretch. When I press enter once, it changes to move. Press enter again, so it's rotate. One more time will take us to scale. Now I'm going to use the existing midpoint as the base point, so all I'm going to do is type in the scale factor of 1.2. Enter. Now 1.2 might have been a little bit small, so I might scale it up a bit more. Probably 1.5 is where you'd want to be. Yeah, there we go. And escape to deselect. Now what I do need to do is check that I have some line types loaded up. Now I do have some line types in here. If you only have by layer, by block and continuous, what you would need to do is choose the other option, and that will load up this window here. Once you've got the line type manager, you'll need to click on load. You'll get another box pop up. Now you want to make sure this one says AutoCAD ISO.lin. If it says AutoCAD, then you're probably using the AutoCAD.dwt template. It's not really the one that we want to be using. We want to be using the AutoCAD ISO template. But if you've got AutoCAD in there, not too much of a big deal, we can fix that. You can just click on the file button and you'll see AutoCAD ISO.lin in there. Just choose that one. Okay. Once you've done that, just click in here and you can scroll down to, well, we need both center to and hidden to. So what you're going to do is choose, let's say in this case center to, and click OK. Now I've already loaded it, so I'm going to reload it. Okay, and you'll show it'll pop up in here as center to. You'll repeat the process for hidden, and then you'll get hidden show up. Once you're done, click OK. What we can do from there is select these two lines. And if we move up to our line type manager here, you can see you'll have center and hidden loaded. Now notice as I'm moving over hidden, it's giving me a preview of what it will look like. If I'm happy with that, I'm just going to click on that. Press escape to deselect. I'm going to do the same thing with the center line, so I'll just choose that. I'm going to change the line type to center to. And if you like, you can go and change the colors up here. I'm going to make that red, and I'm going to select these ones as well and make them red. Now even though they're too small to be able to see the center line, I'll still change the line type to center just in case I want to do something like grabbing this endpoint here and stretching that across to there. Then under the modify tool, using join, I can join these two together, so that's now one object, and now you can see the center lines there. Okay, so that's pretty much one way of drawing this. It's probably the slower way of doing things, but it gets the job done, and it's going to help you learn how to use sort of lines, arcs, circles, and grips. So just consolidating the information that we've already learned. From here, I'm just going to show you quickly how we can do this a different way. Now we can repeat the exact same sort of thing, but this time we're going to do it using some of the like the rectangle tools and some of these modify tools, just to speed things up a little bit. In order to do this, we need to know the overall size of the object. Now we know that we have radiuses here of 22.5, which is going to give me 45 this side, 45 that side, and we have a distance of 90 from center to center. So if we add 90 to the 45, we end up with 135. So that's going to give us the overall length with 45 high. From there, what I can do is use the rectangle tool, and just clicking anywhere, I'm going to specify some dimensions of 135 by 45. And you'll see I have the rectangle there straight away. Then we're going to put some arcs in the corner, and we're going to use the fillet tool to do that. So up under fillet, if I select that, first thing I need to do is look down in the command line and have a look at what my current radius is. You'll see here we have a radius of 0, so I need to change that. So I'm going to click on radius and type in 22.5. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to fillet every single corner of this rectangle. Now, because the rectangle is a polyline, we have a little tool or an option in fillet which makes this very easy. You'll see down in the command line here there's an option for polyline. If I select polyline and then move over the rectangle, you'll see it'll give you a preview of what we're looking at. I'm going to click on this and that will apply those fillets to all those corners. So it's much quicker than what we did up the top here. From there we can do the same thing with circle. Move over the arc, you'll get the center point pop up. Click on there and you'll notice the diameter and the radius is already set from last time we did it. So if it's not, you can specify the radius or the diameter. I'm just going to press enter to apply the same settings. Now to produce this one over here, we're just going to follow the same process we did for the large rectangle. Now we need to know the distance from there to there. Now given that we have 12.5 and 12.5, which gives us 25 in total, plus 33, we're looking at 57 millimeters from end to end and 25 top to bottom. So we can create another rectangle just over here, anywhere will do. Specify the dimensions of 57 and 25. Okay, so there we have that rectangle. Repeating the same process with the fillet tool, I'm going to choose fillet, change the radius from 22.5 to 12.5, so radius 12.5. Using the polyline option again, I click on the rectangle and there we have it. Now we need to put this object inside of this one. Now the center point of this is the same as the center point of that. So what I'm going to do is click on the move tool, select the object and enter. Now if I move over the outside arc, you'll see I get a center point of that arc. I select that one and just move over this arc and click on the center point of that one. Okay, there we have it, they're lined up. Okay. From there, it's just going to be the same process as what we did for this rectangle up here. To create the rectangle, project the lines across, trim them up, and apply your line weights and line types and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, that'll give you two different ways you can produce this object. Obviously, the second way is a little bit faster. It requires you to do a little bit more thinking in terms of measurements for overall lengths and widths. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Thank you.